my channel. If this is the first time you're seeing any of my videos, I am so glad that you are here. My name is Bwandungi, and this month we are doing a study of villains in literature to help us write our villains better. Last week I did a study of Jadis, Queen of Narnia, and we had to look at her history, at her motivations, whether she made an actual good villain or whether she made a bad villain, and talked about the things that we could learn from her. Today we are going to look at Dolores Umbridge, who is a fascinating character in the Harry Potter series. We first come across her in the Order of the Phoenix. She becomes such a villain in that story. We find that many people actually hate her more than they hate Voldemort, because Voldemort has a backstory. His grandfather abandoned him, his father abandoned him, he grew up in an orphanage. With Dolores Umbridge, we didn't have that backstory. As I was doing this study, I came across many fascinating links that I will put in the description box below that can help you in your own study of Dolores Umbridge as a character that you can use to fashion your own villain. There's also a fascinating video that someone created where they imagined themselves to be inside the mind of Dolores Umbridge. If I had not done my study already, it would have changed my mind a little bit, but I've judged her, and I know you shouldn't judge anyone, but I have judged Dolores Umbridge. And I have found her to be wanting. It didn't convince me, but it's still an interesting look, and it will be in the description box below, along with some of my thoughts. All the history that I'm getting for Dolores Umbridge, I got from Pottermore.com. Dolores Umbridge's backstory was written by J.K. Rowling. Dolores Umbridge was born to Ellen Cracknell, a muggle, and Orford Umbridge, who was a wizard. They had a very unhappy marriage, but out of that marriage came two children, the eldest being Dolores, and the younger brother, whose name we do not know, who was a squib. Squibs occupy this very fascinating sector of the Harry Potter universe. They are usually descendants of at least one magical parent, but they themselves do not have magical powers. Voldemort's mother was also thought to be a squib. At 11, Dolores gets her letter to go to Hogwarts, and she gets sorted into Slytherin House, where she becomes a distinctive, successful student. At the age of 15, her parents separate. She is left with her wizard father, and her mother takes her squib brother, and she never sees them ever again. Dolores finishes Hogwarts and gets a job at the Ministry of Magic, where she distinguishes herself by being ruthless and taking credit for other people's work. She eventually becomes the director of the department that she's in. While Umbridge is working at the Ministry of Magic, she convinces her janitor father to stop working at the ministry and instead stay home. She'll pay for his living, but just don't be out in public, which he agrees to. Anyone who asks her about her heritage, something bad happens to them. She doesn't like being asked those questions, so people eventually just stop asking. In any case, she's invented this whole story about her father being on the Wizengamot, which you could research and find out if there was any Umbridge at any point in history who was on the Wizengamot or Wizengamot, however you say the word. He wasn't on it. Then an opportunity presents itself. Fudge becomes super paranoid that Dumbledore wants his job. Dolores sees her opportunity. She's like, she goes off to Hogwarts to sort of be Fudge's spy and to see what's going on at Hogwarts. She becomes a professor of the Defense Against the Dark Arts. Prior to that, I think she was sitting on the Wizengamot when Harry Potter comes in because he conjured a Patronus to stop his cousin from getting killed by a Dementor. And that is when we first come across her sort of in the Harry Potter books in the Order of the Phoenix. Umbridge connects with Fudge and tells him, things are going to shit at Hogwarts. You need to give me more powers. So she becomes High Inquisitor at Hogwarts and starts making her own rules, starts putting up new rules about what it is the students can and cannot do. She goes into the different classes and makes the teachers miserable. She wants to expel one of the teachers who she believes is underperforming. She continues to stoke the fire at the ministry, telling Fudge that Dumbledore has to go, and a group of people come to Hogwarts to arrest Dumbledore. So guess what he does? He's gone in a puff of smoke. She becomes headmaster at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and continues her reign of terror. Things come to a head when she finds Harry communicating with his godfather, Sirius Black, in a fireplace. He and his friends come up with this idea of tricking her to going into the Forbidden Forest. Eventually she gets captured by the centaurs and poof! She disappeared. When we see her next, she is at the top of this kangaroo court at the Ministry of Magic. She is responsible for the registration of Muggle-born wizards, who she's accusing of having stolen their wands and stolen their magic. We don't see her again, and according to Pottermore, she gets tried after Voldemort is defeated, and she is sent to Azkaban, where she either dies or goes crazy. We don't know. Bye, Umbridge! Researching her, I had a few thoughts. You'll excuse me if I look at my notes. I have a couple hundred notes. Why does she despise her mother? I don't understand how a wizard would marry a muggle and somehow just despise her for being a muggle. You knew she was a muggle when you married her. That was weird. And then teaching your child to despise her mother? It also could be that Authortube Umbridge, Dolores' father, was just as much a sociopath as she was. The other thing that I didn't think that was happening with Umbridge is I don't think she was trying to do a good thing. I just think that this was a sociopath who just wanted to act out her cruelty. Choosing this idea of wanting order at Hogwarts was just a way for her to be cruel to somebody. It's not that she wanted power. She would have gone straight to Voldemort. That's what people did in the Harry Potter universe. Then at the Ministry of Magic, when she's torturing Muggle-borns, she's not doing it because she thinks Muggle-borns need to be under their feet or whatever, because she sent them to Azkaban, people died there, and I think it brought her some satisfaction, some kind of joy. And you see it even, and I'm referring to the movie, where Harry is using the magic quill to write, and it draws blood on his hand. And he turns to her and he's like, and she's, yes? In that sweet, saccharine voice. The other thing that I think is happening with Umbridge here is she's just taking advantage of the situation. She saw opportunities where other people may have not seen them, when they're just, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. She saw opportunities for herself that she took advantage of, so she could exercise her cruelties, she could exercise her sociopathy. The way that Dolores Umbridge made herself into a safe character was that she wore a lot of pink and she wore furbelows. That's a new word that I learned. She basically loved twee things. Twee refers to little children's stuff. So when an adult likes twee things, it is, you know, they carry little backpacks with a cute bear on, or the stuff that they decorate their hair with is typically the stuff that you would see on little girls or little boys. Part of this whole pink outfit, the high voice, I have the impression that these are the types of things that she was using to make herself appear safe, so that people would be attracted to her, so she could pounce with her cruelty and extract some pleasure for herself in being cruel to these people. I also think that her fear of creatures that were not human, the werewolves, the centaurs, was not necessarily disgust. She did not have any understanding of how to be cruel to them, rather than deal with them like any other creature that you would come across, like those little kittens that you love on the plates. Also, while she was incredibly rude to the other professors, she wasn't cruel towards them, except Trelawney, who she saw she had an opening. As far as her motivation is concerned, I just believe that Dolores Umbridge was a sociopath and she just wanted to exercise her cruelty. She wasn't trying to be good or trying to bring order or any of that. She was just cruel. She's a sociopath, and I have talked about this already, so I won't belabor the point. Number two, she has no empathy at all. There is no moment in time when we see her putting herself in the shoes of someone else in order to feel what it is that they are feeling so that she could behave differently. She's a smart cookie. She did very well in school. She got into the Ministry of Magic. She was absolutely ruthless, and she understood how to manipulate people within her department so she could rise to the top. She understood how to manipulate Fudge so he could send her to Hogwarts. She understood how to manipulate him further to become High Inquisitor and later on Headmaster. The other thing also is her sense of dress that makes her a good villain because it was so distinctive. The pink was so distinctive. The furbelows, general way she carried herself around with the small shuffling steps and so on. Her entire aura fit in with the character that was being written. She had no central message. There was nothing pure that she wanted. She said she wanted order, and yet she caused disorder. Because if you are an intelligent person of any IQ, if you're doing something and it's not working, you stop. You figure out what it is that the people that you're manipulating need, and you adjust your message, you adjust your system so that it would work towards helping you attain your goal. But she wasn't looking for that. She just wanted to torture people. Why dissolve all the Quidditch teams? Because the kids were enjoying Quidditch. Like, she had no real, message. Like, you respect Voldemort because he had something. He was going to be on top and everybody was going to be under him. Her only motive was cruelty. While that is, in one sense, a good thing because we get to see sort of a soullessness, her backstory does not support what this is all about. And this is not to say that sociopaths are made. Some sociopaths are just born. Like, we should have seen more of this sociopathy when she was at Hogwarts, for example. But again, no one has written her backstory. If you are into fan fiction and you find something, send it. I would love to read some fan fiction on Dolores Umbridge. And also, she learns nothing. In her tenure at Hogwarts, she did not learn that the things she was doing was just creating a rebellion. Granted, she wasn't the main villain of the Harry Potter series, but it would have been nice to see some kind of arc. The first one is that sociopathic tendencies are difficult to develop when you are writing a story that has a character in either one book of your series. The origins of the sociopathy have to be explained better. They have to be understood better. And if that is what I choose for my villain, then the backstory becomes important. But already the story for my villain is huge, but maybe in another project. The wardrobe! Like I said last week when we looked at Jada's Queen of Narnia, with the ice crown and the white fur, it made her very stark and cold. With Dolores Umbridge, the pink makes her wolf in lamb's clothing so that you don't know what it is that she is. The wardrobe for the villain is very, very important in informing your readers about this villain character. The third thing, J.K. Rowling used her intense dislike of this particular teacher in order to create Dolores Umbridge. I intensely dislike the teachers that tortured me in school. Why would you want to sort of immortalize this person in literature? I don't know. Maybe there's a way to combine all the different characters of the people that you dislike into this one character. So that's a thought. One of the things that happened as the story went on, there was a refining of her cruelty. So she just started out by saying, we're not going to learn magic. What do you need magic for? They needed magic in order to learn how to defend themselves. Being sort of cruel in the classroom, to being cruel to the other teachers, to popping off at the magical creatures, the centaurs and what have you. And finally, your villain does not have to be ugly in order to be a villain. They don't have to be super beautiful or super ugly like a toad with a fly in their hair. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm so grateful that you spent the time, that you got to the end of the video. If you have liked this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. I would love to have you. And don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notifications. And as always, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!